What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. So I wanted to continue this conversation regarding trade lines and this whole big idea that by utilizing trade lines that you could somehow circumvent the process of organically building your credit. And there seems to be a big population of people who are in favor of these shortcuts. So before we dive into the conversation, I just wanted to go over this particular article. Now, this was from last summer. It's entitled "Trade Lines Are Being Shut Down by the Bureaus." So as a lot of you know, last summer, a lot of these trade line companies started to lose their data furnishing license, so their ability to report to the credit reporting agencies. So some of you might be familiar with My Jewelers Club, right? So this is on My Jewelers Club website right now. My Jewelers Club is not accepting new credit applications at this time. Now, it seemed like last summer, it all happened at once. A lot of these companies, including My Jewelers Club, you have Attractive Gems Jewelers, and you also have New Coast Direct, Hutton Chase. There were a handful of these trade line companies. So My Jewelers Club and several other companies like them have been shut down by the credit bureaus. So for those who are familiar with My Jewelers Club, it's an online jewelry store that basically allows you to get a $5,000 unsecured trade line, right? Now, what's crazy is right here, it says almost 4% of credit active consumers have a My Jewelers financial trade line. So MAJR Financial, that's My Jewelers Club. Some of you who had that trade line, that's how it reports. So when you think about it, 4% of active credit consumers had My Jewelers Club on their credit report. Now, 4% might sound like a small percentage, but that's actually a pretty significant percentage considering all the different credit accounts out there. 4% had My Jewelers Club, and all you got to do is pay $99 and you're able to get this $5,000 trade line reporting on your credit. And this is a primary trade line. Now, the problem with this, just like this article states, is that essentially there's no underwriting criteria or evaluation. My Jewelers Club and companies like them are simply used to boost credit scores and effectively mask credit worthiness of consumers. They are also used by fraudsters with synthetic identities to increase credit scores of these fake people. While it appears that the bureaus have stopped accepting trade lines from My Jewelers Club, many took advantage of the ability to buy trade lines from them in recent years. So based on a sampling of 50,000 credit reports in 2021, they found that a significant number of them actually had My Jewelers Club reporting. So this is a sample of 50,000 credit reports, and just over the course of 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, they found that increasingly a lot of people had My Jewelers Club reporting on their credit report. So out of a sample of 50,000 credit reports in 2020, about 1,076. So as you can see, in 2020, there were a lot of people who were applying for these different trade lines, not just My Jewelers Club, but a host of other ones as well. Some down here, you have New Coast Direct, Hutton Chase, Ox Publishing, Shop Simplio, AG Jewelers was a very similar one. For example, with AG Jewelers, for $149, you can get a $10,000 credit limit reporting on your credit report, and then you also just pay $99 annually to keep it reporting. However, they do admit on their website that they won't do a hard or soft pull, and also mention that you are not required to purchase jewelry to apply for the trade line. Now, this is a very important statement right here, right? So it says these significant changes will help lenders who depend on bureau data to accurately underwrite customers. It will lead to better pricing and risk management overall. Some of you are also familiar with Hutton Chase. Now, this is coming directly from their website, and quote, "Despite our best efforts, it appears that the credit bureaus are no longer interested in working with credit building companies like Hutton Chase. I've given my full attention for the past 4 years to ensure that I'm doing all that the bureaus require regarding compliance." Now, here's the issue and the reason why a lot of these trade line companies have been shut down. So we're talking about Ox Publishing, Hutton Chase, New Coast Direct, My Jewelers Club, AG Jewelers. All of these companies have lost their ability to report and furnish data to the credit reporting agencies. And this goes along with a lot of the reasons that I already stated, right? So there's no underwriting criteria in order to get that trade line reporting on your credit report. Essentially, what these companies were doing were selling trade lines. So it really was to get access to that trade line to report on their credit. People essentially inflating their credit worthiness and then applying for different credit accounts. So if you can spend, let's say you spend $149 at AG Jewelers, you get $10,000 credit line, you go to My Jewelers Club, spend $99 and get a $5,000 trade line. So now you have $15,000 in available credit, and that's going to increase a credit score. So if a lender looks at that with the naked eye, it looks like you're fairly credit worthy because you have these relatively decent sized limits reporting on your credit. However, anyone was able to do that without undergoing an underwriting process. So there was no evaluation of your credit worthiness in order to get the account. And that's the problem with those types of companies. And the reason why their data furnishing agreements were revoked is because it's essentially just making people appear more credit worthy than they are if you can just buy credit data. And lenders who depend on bureau data to accurately underwrite customers, right? So if you're giving lenders inaccurate or inflated or false data, that's actually going to make it more risky for the banks and the financial institutions to truly assess how credit worthy you are. Another reason why I think a lot of these companies got shut down is because we saw this spike in 2020, which may have coincided with the pandemic, right? A lot of people trying to improve their credit scores. And you see a lot of these credit reports start to have these trade lines reporting on them. And then a lot of these synthetic credit fraud scenarios were associated with a lot of these different types of accounts. You got New Coast Direct, Hutton Chase, Ox Publishing, Shop Simplio. So most people who probably already have established credit would have no need to open up these trade line types of accounts where you essentially pay to have credit data. Now, the problem with paying for credit data is that it corrodes the integrity of the credit system, right? If you're getting data that isn't a true representation of your risks, then that actually poses a lot of risk to the lender, because if they're giving out credit based off of faulty data, that's going to lead to bigger defaults and things like that. I think the best way of building your credit is to organically build it over time using your own accounts. In the other video, we talked about authorized users, which again, I don't have a problem with authorized users, but if you're overly relying on data that really doesn't represent who you are as a borrower, then that's going to pose some issues. So the best way to actually build credit is to build it organically, build it slow. There's no shortcuts. And as you can see, just by the credit bureau stance, they shut all of those companies down around the same time because they started to see this trend where, people were just essentially buying their credit worthiness, whether that's with, these trade line accounts or, if people were adding a lot of authorized users. There's even some financial institutions who have made it a little bit more stringent in terms of adding authorized users. Case in point, probably one of the best companies when it comes to adding authorized users, Discover. There's been cases where people have gotten their accounts shut down by adding excessive authorized users. A lot of these institutions are really catching on, and they understand that, they want to get the most accurate depiction of your credit worthiness. So by removing some of these accounts where you could basically buy credit data, that forces a lot of people to actually build their credit organically, which I'm a huge proponent of. I know this might not resonate, especially with people who are trying to get to credit fast. No reputations are built overnight, especially a financial reputation. You have to demonstrate patience as well as discipline and good money managed habits over a long period of time. But the sooner you start, the sooner you'll be on your way. Anyways, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Let me know your comments and questions in the comment section down below. And until next time, take it easy and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.